Hello and welcome to the TTI Distribution Download, the podcast where we talk about all things happening in the world of electronic components with the specialists of TTI. And now, your host for the TTI Distribution Download, Paula Renfrow.
Hey everyone, thanks for plugging into the TTI Distribution Download today. We're back today with Gia Hayes, Vice President of TTI's Military and Aerospace Group. And joining us today is Troy DeCook, one of TTI's National Strategic Account Managers. His special interest at TTI is what we're doing in space-level products. Thanks for joining us today, Troy.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, Gia, Troy, TTI has a long history of providing high reliability, mil-spec, and space-level components since really back in the Apollo days, right?
Right. Some of our first sales were high-performance passive components that were going into aircraft for defense systems. Today, TTI has dependable component supply chains in everything from satellite constellations to launch vehicles.
Yeah, the process of component sourcing has changed too, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. When NASA had a handful of prime contractors who were responsible for building their spacecraft, it could take longer and be much more deliberate. Today, there are several different commercial launch vehicles, 5, maybe even 10, to get systems into orbit, and they're competing against others to get up into orbit quickly. So we can see bill of materials changing overnight. This is where TTI can help. We can help with the nimbleness of these up-and-coming commercial space companies as they modify bill of materials quickly. When you look at the new space industry, depending on their end product, some customers can use commercial and automotive components, not necessarily mil-spec and space-grade material.
So last episode, Gia and I were talking about the change in specifying products these days. How in the old days, in this market segment, it would take months, long periods of time to have even just a second source. So things in the process of component sourcing has really changed in this market segment, hasn't it?
It has. So if you think about back in the past, they would have space grade material, right? And so to be able to find an alternate for that was very difficult. It was most of the time custom product. But some of these new space companies are using commercial off-the-shelf components in order to find an alternate for that, depending on whatever the situation may be. Maybe it may be difficulty getting parts with lead times. So having the opportunity to have more commercial, even automotive, and even some mil-spec product makes it easier for these companies to make changes to their bill of materials. And like you said, in the past, it may take months for this to happen. We're seeing that happen now within days.
That's amazing. So can we talk just a little bit about, I know for years we've called them, I've always known them as COTS, commercial off the shelf, like you said. So that doesn't mean consumer level product. It's a different level of specification. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what the gap between, or the small gap between COTS and mil-spec and space level?
Yeah, Paula, that's a great point. I think that the commercial off-the-shelf components in many cases are made in the same factories as some of those mil-spec or space-grade components. They're just not tested or certified to those same standards. So in some select cases, we can look to those parts and the engineers can weigh the value of the certifications, the costs, the performance. And I think they also look at, what is their expectation for that? Let's just use satellite as an example. If it's low Earth orbit and it's only going to be in space for 5 years, that can utilize different components than a satellite that's going to be longer term and be out there for 10 years or longer. So I think the flexibility in the design of the product is really based on the customer and their expectations for their products.
So as we're talking about the evolution of this market segment, I recall in the days when the Mil-Aero market segment was really a U.S.-based market segment. Really, it was very defense-focused. Today, this market segment is a global effort, isn't it?
It is. We're seeing programs all over the world. Recently, a Japanese firm just nearly became the first private company to land on the moon. The European Space Agency has several contract companies working on their programs and have launches going on all over the planet. It's not just Florida. There's Van Horn, there's Boca Chica, Texas, California, New Zealand, Alaska, Japan, China, Russia. It's an amazing time to be watching rockets go up. This is an emerging market, and TTI is focused on it like many of our key suppliers. And doing some research, some experts estimate that this growing space economy will become a $1.4 trillion market by 2030. And so we are supporting customers directly and through our subcontractors all over the world.
I think most people think about just the vehicles, right? The rockets. But what about the support systems on the ground, mission control, ancillary vehicles?
Yeah, the space industry is more than just rockets. It includes other aspects, which, like you mentioned, are the control rooms. There's tracking, there's communications, telemetry, monitoring of the health of the vehicles and the astronauts, and even more when you get into space tourists.
That's true. And think about the support systems above the Earth. You've got International Space Station. Also, Blue Origin has an interesting concept on an orbital reef, which is like a business park out in space that will be kind of this, gateway to the moon, to Mars, beyond. I think if you can imagine it in the next 10 to 20 years, it's very possible that it's going to be created.
So, Troy, tell us a little bit about your career journey, how you came to TTI and how you came to join Gia's Mil-Aero market segment team.
So it's kind of come full circle. So I got into the industry as a buyer at an aerospace company, but got into sales. I joined TTI. I've been with TTI now for 12 years. And I joined Gia's group in the Mil-Aero segment a year ago. And to be honest, I've learned a ton about this market, not only the Mil-Aero market, but the space market in that year's time.
Is the space your favorite?
It is. It's exciting. Obviously, being able to watch these customers do amazing things brings joy. And like Gia mentioned in a previous podcast, my passion is for the space industry.
So now that you're working in that industry every day, what's the thing that blows your mind?
Well, how quickly these customers are able to move and be nimble. It is just amazing that the engineering that goes into these vehicles.
So many groundbreaking things happening in the area, of course, of space exploration, and that filters right into the supply chain. So, Troy, what tips would you give the engineer? And we've talked about how the engineer has little different requirements and specialization than in the past. What would be your tips to the space exploration engineer on how to best utilize the experience, one, of your team, the value proposition that TTI always is, which is available to sell, and then, of course, our support of Mil-Aero for over 50 years. How is the best way to engage with us so that we can bring the most value?
So these engineers are extremely busy, as we mentioned before. So we are the specialists in this product set. So let us do the legwork of going out and finding these alternate manufacturers to be able to provide them some input on parts that they can use, because we understand their applications that they are using. And then we can organize with our suppliers to bring back the best options for those engineers to be able to put into their application. While they are going on and working on other projects, we're doing the work behind the scenes.
Very good. I like to call that capability and capacity. We have a specialist team that has the capability to offer real support, right? And added capacity.
Correct. We have plenty of resources that we can rely on that are engaged with our suppliers. Most of our key suppliers are focused in this industry, and they also have experts. So we're talking from a corporate to corporate relationship with these manufacturers, looking for the best product for our customer.
Good stuff. So Gia, upcoming episodes. So let's talk about space. How can we help you using this podcast platform bring more information, more support to the engineers in this space?
I believe that TTI has a lot of value to offer because we work with multiple suppliers. So when our customers are looking for a product that does, whatever, fill in the blank, we can offer multiple solutions, just like Troy mentioned. What I hope to gain from this is better understanding about TTI and the value of what we bring. It isn't just supply chain solutions. We really are in at the design phase, and that's where we want to be, is on the front end, so that when it becomes, a full production rate program, TTI is ready to support that as well.
early in the design phase because we will pipeline your inventory.
With TTI being a specialist, we really do have premier suppliers that we partner with. So we keep a narrow focus, quality products, quality suppliers. And I believe that's a value that we can bring to the table.
Yeah, very good point. So what we will promise our audience coming up is more product technology conversation with some of those premier level suppliers.
Correct.
Sound good?
That sounds fabulous.
Good. So my thanks today to Gia Hayes and Troy DeCook from the TTI Military and Aerospace Group. I'm Paula Renfrow. I hope you'll choose to plug into the TTI distribution download again. In coming weeks, we'll be talking to industry subject matter experts, Ron Bishop, Dennis Zogby, the full lineup of respected TTI Market Eye contributors. And that is a wrap for us today. I want to thank very much Gia and Troy from the TTI Mil Aero Group for joining me here today. Guys, it was great.
Yeah, Paula, thank you. We appreciate the time.
Thank you, Paula. It's great to be here.
That's it for this episode of the TTI Distribution Download. For more information on any of the topics you heard about today, reach out to your nearby TTI branch at 1-800-CALL-TTI or visit us online at tti.com.